Hello, guys. How are we doing tonight? Give me a quick confirmation that you guys can indeed hear me, and we can get right into it. Awesome. So hopefully your trading went well today. I know mine did, right? We had exactly what we were looking for yesterday. I love having back-to-back peer reviews because it gives me the opportunity to tell you guys what I'm looking for going into the next day and to see it happen the following day, right? So definitely very interesting here. We had a retracement. As we know, yesterday we looked at it. We saw the SMT at the lows. So what were we expecting going into the next day? A continuation of that move. And I believe it was actually, you can probably just scroll up a tiny bit and see, Wolfie, that we expand a trend day, right? Yes, you actually can. So trending bullish day is what we got, right? You can see on my chart, the levels I was using for the day were, well, my target, we could say my drawn liquidity, if you prefer, was the current weekly high. Why? Because that is higher time frame liquidity. So it was my long-term draw, definitely previous day high as well, but that was taken pre-market. If we go down to the 15-minute here and look at the day's price action, you'll notice it is pretty standard trending day, right? How do I define a trending day? I've talked about it quite a bit. I look for price to form a low early before the London session. So I'm looking at the Asian session, which for me is anytime from 6 p.m. all the way up to 1 a.m. So that is the Asian session by my definition. And I'm looking for the low to be formed here. Now, we had a low form at this area. Was there even some SMT? I believe there wasn't. Did we take this out? I think we did. So we did have some SMT at this area. We can see ES take out this level. It's a little hard to see, but if we zoom in, you will notice it, and we'll see as well that NASDAQ did not take out this level, which forms some very nice SMT. So even better there, you have additional confirmation that you can look at this level as a high probability low of day as it formed SMT. I'm always, by the way, intraday, always looking at the 15-minute chart, if you guys are wondering. So when I'm talking about SMT and coming to conclusions about my daily structure, I'm looking at the 15-minute. Another sign that you can expect a trending day is when we trade so far above previous day high pre-market, right? So even with London, we were past previous day high and through. So that would be a great second confirmation, I guess we could say, about bullish price action. And of course, just a day's movement. We are always looking for, let's say we're looking for a bullish day, right? Like today, open, low, expand to a high, retrace to a close. And that is exactly what we got. Now, it was a little trickier right at the open, but we'll look right into it. We had a London framework, right, from London low to London high, but as you can see, it was taken pre-market. Both sides of London being taken pre-market, we have a clear consolidation here. So whenever we consolidate, right, what do we have to do? And I feel like I deleted that. Let me bring it back. I like consolidation to be orange, but I don't want it to be too in my face. So let me actually save this as a template. All right, so consolidation. How do we interact with consolidation? We look for a raid of one side to then go target the other side. Now, you can frame this, taking out London high, as the raid on the consolidation. And then as we can see right here at the open, we went and targeted the other side. Or you can frame it the other way and say, you know what, this was not enough of a raid for me. And now you can see it raided the low and went to the high. So no matter which way you saw it, you had a very clear framework to look for longs right at the open. You also had 8:30 news today, which, as we can see, did not form any sort of Judas swing. We'll actually go down a time frame here. And let me remove this box. We'll see the news didn't do much. And when the news doesn't do much, I look for news raid framework. This is something we discussed during this week's Outlook. So if you're curious about that, definitely go watch this week's Outlook on YouTube. But I like to use the 1 hour range just as a 15-minute range. So right here, we have what I'd call data low, right? The low formed from the range of the news. So from 8:30 to 9:30, I'm looking at the absolute high and the absolute low. And as we can see, the high is right here, data high. So you have data low, data high, and I'm looking for a framework that will take out one and go target the other. And that is exactly what we saw, right? We took it out. We also ran for these pre-market lows. Very important level here. Why? Because it's relative equal lows, right? We don't have to think any much further than this, that the charts tell me that this is an important level by forming equal highs. Just as I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, these are relative equal highs. I understand that this is a more important liquidity point. Same thing here, right? All of these levels are of bigger importance than any random swing point because two of them formed in close proximity. So that's just some insight right there. We also had some SMT right at those lows. We can see it a lot clearer on ES than we can on NASDAQ, but we had some SMT at the lows. On NASDAQ, it's going to be pretty intense here, right? So I won't draw it, but we did have our SMT that could have given you your final piece of the puzzle, I guess, to say it. You have a raid, you have a framework from the news, clear target, clear drawn liquidity, and SMT confirms the final thing. Now, this SMT does not create an earlier breaker block, right? We had no breaker block form at the lows, but as you can see right here, we did have a breaker block that was formed that would have led to a beautiful entry. This is already drawn on my chart because I shared it in chat this morning. Some people were talking about the longs, and I shared the trade I took. I am helping out with the family business, so I don't have much time to trade in the week. At least I had some time yesterday, but not the days before. And so I'm only looking at the first 30 minutes of the market. So for me, that means adjusting to trading 9:30 to 10. So I'm looking for an opportunity there. And as you can see, had a great opportunity today. Just honestly, the whole week, the 9:30 to 10 a.m. period has been doing wonders. We've had a lot of early trades. That is not true for every week, but on this week, it definitely happened. So very clear entry on the inversion fair value gap. Someone asked me questions about my stop loss placement here, and I will showcase it. So as you can see, there is the inversion fair value gap here for my entry. There is the inversion fair value gap below right here. And there is also this inversion fair value gap, which was my third PD array for my stop loss placement. Let me actually just change that to blue. There we go. So inversion fair value gap used by our entry, showcased by the indicator. You have another inversion fair value gap right here and another one right here. Now, why am I drawing it like this? Because I like to include the volume imbalance as part of it. As you can see right here, the volume imbalance is included. So my 3 PD array stop loss rule would bring my stop all the way down here. It would actually be to this candle's low, right? But since we did not seem to be forming any kind of sizable fair value gap there, I trailed it up to this candle. I didn't want to let you guys know, but the actual mechanical stop loss placement of 3 PD arrays, since this is your last PD array, we'll put it at the low of the fair value gap candle. In case you guys were unfamiliar with that, that is the mechanical way of finding a stop loss that I truly do believe in. And if we look here at this level, which was just slightly misdrawn just to piss me off, we have 2.8R. There is no partial along the way. There is no reason to look for a partial along the way. You're taking a trade a little bit in premium, but everything else is perfect. So this wouldn't be an A plus setup. It'd be an A setup. Since everything is present, everything is perfect, but you're a little late in the move, right? What is that, right? If we look at the complete end of the framework, you're already 60 handles in. You're a little bit late on the trade. So it's a little worse, but it doesn't mean you don't take them. I trade A and A plus setups. And right here, we have 2.8R just locked and loaded. Whenever I have a trade like this, by the way, where I don't have a clear partial, and so my actual target is going to be my partial, I like to take a sizable partial. So instead of taking 50% of my position, I will take between 75 and 80%. So depending basically on the amount of contracts I have. So if I have 5 contracts, I'm going to take 80%, 4 contracts, right? And leave 1 runner. But if I have 3, then all of a sudden that becomes 66% because I'm taking off 2 and leaving 1, right? It vastly depends on contract, on position size. But with a stop loss tight like that, I had a lot of contracts. So I took all off but 2 contracts, trading micros, actually. Very beautiful trade, very easy trade. And of course, I did hold out for runner. At the end, my stop loss was trailed to the low of this candle. Why? I first put it break even. Then I trailed it a little bit to this candle because I didn't want to see this consolidation return to. And as you can see, I got broken even on my runner, but had a very nice take profit initially for the trade. Now, we also had a continuation opportunity, which once again, it is drawn in advance because I discussed this as well. We have a very nice continuation. Everything aligns beautifully. After 10:30, you guys might have heard me say that in the past. We haven't seen any sort of these setups in a while. But if I bring my sessions here and I bring the opening range right here, after 10:30, I'm looking for us to target either the high or the low, right? If I'm bullish, I'm going to look for us to trade to the high and break out above it. You'll actually hear a lot of people trade the opening range breakouts, which is exactly that. They look for the opening range to form, look to establish a trend, and take breakouts in direction of that trend. So if we break the high, I'm going to look to take a breakout. I've talked quite at length about this specific framework, and as you can see on the day like today, it turned out great. Current week's high, as we discussed, was our target. You'll notice that ES waited until late in the PM session to hit this. So as soon as NASDAQ took this out right here, you now have higher time frame SMT. I did tell you guys that I never use these daily swing points to find SMT until we have a swing formed. What does that mean, right? I feel like some people might not understand, but for example, I will not consider SMT between these two levels until this level is a 3-bar swing. For example, like this, right? So for example, if we form the SMT here, I need to wait for us to close on this given day to then consider this a 3-bar swing, right? It's a 3-bar pattern where the middle one is the lowest. For example, first swing low, right? Left is higher, right is higher. Well, I need to wait for this candle to close to consider this a swing. So that's how I use daily SMT. I'll always wait for the swing to be confirmed before actually considering it as SMT. And would have worked great for today. Does not matter. You'll still consider, for example, possible retracements off of this move. I did not discuss about this short because for me, there is no reason to short here, right? You are very bullish, at least until current week's high is taken. But just to showcase it to you guys, right? The indicator is on default mode, so it's showing every single breaker. Your 3PD array stop loss rule, you'd have the inversion fair value gap, the tiny little fair value gap above, and the order block. So you'd have a stop right here. You would not have reached take profit because, as you guys know, I never look to take profit before 1.7. Would have been really close here, but it would have been a loss or a break even, right? If I'm up 1.66R or 67R, even 6.8 at the maximum peak, actually, there is no way I'm letting that trade run around. Actually, when I see it reverse, I might take profit here. Truth is, it's very hard to make money take profiting earlier than 1.7R. That is the reason why that rule is there. If you always take profit early, you're going to miss out, and even your winning trades, you're not going to make enough money to cover your losses. So what I like to do more, rather than take profit, for example, and get scared, I like to just go break even. Because I'm never mad about a break-even trade, right? I can't get mad about a loss. I can also get mad about a win where I took profit early and I left too much money on the table. But I can't get mad about a break-even trade, even if it turns to my take profit after, because I mitigated risk. That is my thought process. I always take my decisions based on psychological decisions, right? What will piss me off the least? Well, if I go break even. So instead of take profiting and letting potential upside of just holding out and waiting to take profit at this low, well, I'm going to go break even. And see, in this case, it would not have worked out. It would have just break even you, but you would not have lost money with a bad trade. Because as I said, for me, there is no reason to go short until current week's high is taken. If you look to go short after, well, there was a losing setup right there. So you'd have your stop all the way, actually fair value gap, and inversion fair value gap. So you'd have your stop at the high of this candle, and this one would not have worked out, clearly, right? This would have led to a stop loss. So you still had the opportunity. This would be a valid short, in my opinion, but you shouldn't be short. You should be holding runners from this long. So in case you would have missed every possible long, then this, yes, I would consider this a valid short opportunity. But the actual short opportunity came in the PM session when we had the lunch rate framework. You guys will notice I trade all the same kinds of framework, but use different sessions, right? It's always the same for me. I trade from this high to this low, or this low to that high, but it's not the same sessions, right? I have a lot of frameworks throughout the day. For the lunch session, you can see we took out lunch high right here at 2 p.m. It's even better because you can frame power of 3 moves. Let's say I bring in our 4-hour open. You can frame your 4-hour candle to open into a high and then expand to a low. Did not have any setups near the absolute top of it, but as you can see, you formed some bearish breakers here. Have a fair value gap right here for your bearish unicorn. Now, 3PD array stop loss rule, you have fair value gap, no inversions that I see to the left. This one got invalidated, I believe. Let's just confirm. Yes, we closed below. So your stop would be all the way up here to this third fair value gap, right? Fair value gap of your entry, fair value gap above, and another fair value gap above. So actually, your stop would not be enough risk to reward. As we can see, we clearly met that 1.7. Truth is, I would take this trade anyways, but I would wait for it to offer me a better entry, and you'll notice that just one tick above, this trade now provides 1.7 R. So what if it doesn't retrace one tick above? Well, then I missed out on the trade because it wasn't worth my time anyways, because it did not provide me with enough return. But if it does provide me with enough return, right? If it does retrace deeper, then that is a trade I'm willing to take. And as you guys can see, it actually reached just above the midpoint of the fair value gap. Let me actually test that out. It's been a while since I did that. Yeah, just above the midline of the fair value gap. Pretty nice trade. And that is the last trade I will consider for the day. Not looking for any PM continuations, especially after lunch rate was provided. I do want to speak. Justin couldn't be here tonight, but he messaged me and asked me to know what my indicator settings are. And it's very simple. I always switch between default bullish and bearish. Why? Because sometimes I have a bias and I only want to see bullish breaker blocks, right? So why would I keep the indicator and see the bearish ones? That's just clutter on my chart, right? This is mostly during reviews. I always want to see all the available breaker blocks. That is when I am reviewing my chart. When I'm not reviewing my chart, this setting is on 5. But 5 will only show you the 5 most recent ones, right? So in this case, when I'm reviewing my charts, doing these PA reviews with you guys, I have it at 25. Of course, I use both time filters. This I mess around with a lot. I do not trade the closing range. I like to use 230 instead, actually. So the first hour of the PM session and the first 2 hours of the AM session. Pivot strength is 1. I want to see 3 bar frameworks. You'll see that this is the left strength of pivots. So basically, how many bars do they have to be higher than to consider it a pivot point for a potential breaker block? 3 range look back. I want to see breaker blocks that are formed near reversals, not far away. If I had a high range look back, for example, this would be a breaker block when we trade above it. So 3 is my given right here. Breaker type, I want to see the last up close / down close candle, right? I sometimes switch it to consecutive, but sometimes you have some pretty big breakers like this one, which it can get quite painful on the eyes, to be honest. But sometimes I'll mess around with consecutive. Breaker offset is 2. This is purely drawings settings, right? So basically, as we can see from this tiny little triangle signal, this is where the breaker block was formed, but it draws right up until 2 candles after, right? So that is a 2 offset. That's what I like, personally. Remove after invalidation is something I use when I'm trading, right? I only want to see valid breakers. For example, you'll see that this one disappeared because it got invalidated when we traded above this point, right? So this is something to use while trading. I don't use only the bodies. I don't require the candle close to create a breaker block. Style is all default except the signals. I have signals on, but I don't have the line on. So you can put the line on which will actually draw a line to the level that created the breaker block, right? But I don't like having that. I don't need that. I'm always using it. I like having the little triangle though. That tells me when the breaker block got formed. So I know that on this candle is when the breaker block got formed. I love having this live. Unicorns, I consider both fair value gaps and inversion fair value gaps. 12 overlap threshold for this asset, right? For NASDAQ, I use 12 handles. 3 unicorn offset so that it draws 3 candles after the the fair value gap itself and when it was considered a unicorn. Everything else is default here. Don't use them in line. Don't include volume imbalances often. I like to use it, but sometimes you'll get some very big ones like this one, and it changes some stuff around. But usually I have that on. I had it off probably because I was testing some stuff yesterday, so I'll leave it on for now. And I don't have extend until reached because I like to have it sometimes, but then you'll get some unicorns. Well, it seems like we don't have any today, or here, for example, right, where it extended super far away, and I don't like that. All right, so if we look in the past, we might see some. No, we don't even. But in general, I don't like having this setting on. I don't display deviations often, but when I do, it is breaker block standard deviations, 1, 2, 2.5, 4. Extend until reach on deviations for sure. And text is all default, I believe. Align far right. Default font, no boldness, small text, no labels. Because I know it's a breaker block. I don't want to see breaker block. See, when I coded this indicator, I understood that some people might have a lot of indicators on the chart and they might want to see their breaker block text, or maybe they want to see an abbreviation, just BB, right? But for myself, I don't want to see that. That is a full rundown of the settings I use for the breaker blocks and unicorns indicator. So hopefully that wasn't too boring for you guys that don't use unicorns or don't have the indicator. But Justin asked for my settings, so I told him I would put them in. And I'm actually going to add that to the resource tab just so we can have that. Let me just add a reminder here. So it's going to be breaker block indicator settings. Just for anyone that ever wonders, I'm going to have that up there. I skipped through that because I did want to showcase the settings, but do you guys have any questions about today? Hopefully your trading went well, right? It was one of those days where you have a trending bullish day and any short opportunity does not provide you with a lot of return, but you did have a PM short. You happen to have any data regarding retracements when trading at all-time high? Like, are shorts even worth looking for? Well, I don't have direct data for you. I don't have direct numbers. I can tell you from my experience, now trading twice at all-time high. Some people, I mean, have like 10 times. But from my experience, it does not matter. Like today did not keep going up and trend because we're at all-time highs. That does not matter in my opinion. What really matters about today, what you had to notice, is the fact that yesterday we retraced, right? Yesterday we had a deep retracement, which also formed a lot of SMT with an important level, not just any level, previous week's low. So all that SMT, also right here, right? All that SMT, along with that key level being met on ES, tells you, okay, now we can go up. Where are we going up to? Well, there's one level, current week's high. See, and that brings me to answering Vito's question right here. What are your expectations for tomorrow? Well, a retracement, continuation retracement, right? It's Friday, so I'm going to be looking for a TGIF. I'm going to be looking at the full week's range. So if we make a new high, I'm going to be looking at that. And I'm going to be looking, oh, that is on the wrong side, for a 20 to 30% retracement. If I just reverse that, you'll notice I'll be looking at something like this, 20 to 30% retracement. Probably going to look at us to go a little bit higher, probably overnight, and then retrace into that 20 to 30% range. Whenever we have a trending Thursday, I look for a retracement Friday. So am I going to look for bearish close on the candle? Well, not necessarily, but I'll definitely be looking for some shorts as well. And if we haven't gone up, then we're going to need to go up before we go down. So I'll still trade some longs. I know that's probably not the best answer you guys were looking for, because it's a little bit of both, but that's what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow. So I don't want to bullshit you guys and tell you only one. I'm going to be looking for both, and I'm going to take them in order. If I have a good bullish setup, I'll take the good bullish setup. If I have a good bearish setup, I'll take the good bearish setup. Really, what you have to focus on is not what my bias is. And yet there's value in that, right? I'm very consistent in terms of weekly outlooks, monthly outlooks, and so forth. But what the actual value is, the frameworks that I use. Because that's what you're going to open your chart. Oh, you see that framework? You don't have to think anymore. Just trade that. And for me to remove even an additional step, I decided I'm only trading unicorns, because that's the highest probability entry model, and I don't want to fuck around with anything else. So I'm only trading unicorns with the specific frameworks that I have, which are all based off of statistical, I had a hard time saying that, data. Any final questions before we call it a day? I'm happy to answer anything you guys have. That's awesome. I'm glad you give me feedback, because sometimes I answer a question and then the person just says okay. And I never know if they actually understood or not. So I'm very glad that you're answering back now. Removes a little piece of anxiety. I notice you don't have volume. Do you look for setups or include volume? I do not use volume at all. It does not matter to me. I'm not trading any size that I need volume for. See, that's the thing. I'm not looking to make millions a month. I'm happy with millions a year. So since I'm not putting on 50, 60 contract positions, I personally do not use volume. I know of a lot of traders that use volume, and more specifically, I know a few that use volume profiles and are quite successful at it. But that's not my system. That's the thing. I see you're new to this Discord, Dillions, I guess. Sorry. Billions of dollars. God damn. That guy wants to be really fucking rich. But here's the thing about me. I respect a bunch of other systems. I can't say I respect all of their systems now, because I do run some data on some of them, which are actually scam bullshit. But volume, I know a lot of successful people that are purely trading volume and VWAP, for example, or volume profiles. They're very successful with it, but I don't personally use it. I'm not looking to use it. I have my one system for life, and that's what I'm going to be trading. If for the people who've been in here for a while, right? I see Magic, I see AZ, I see you Solkin as well. It's been a while now. They hear me repeating the same shit over and over again. And it works. So why would I need something else? If you had any suggestions for softwares to backtest on, I'm not a big believer in replay backtesting, like replay trading. This is something actually all my students can tell you. They never replay backtest. So for me, when I tell people backtest, I say basically what we do in these price action reviews. Look at the day after it happened and find the setups. And each setup has to be justifiable. So now it's no longer about, oh, did you see it when it formed? No, it's about, was there a setup or not? And then log it, right? I use Notion a lot to log all the trades, all of the data about the trades, right? Like stop loss size, target, and time of day. And that's how I initially got data about the model. Now it's all automated for me. I just automated, I coded some scripts for it. But yeah, but if you really do want replay trading, even though I do not personally use it, I would recommend FX Replay. Definitely one of the best software out there. There's also TradeZilla that started their replay backtesting thing. I never traded it, so I don't want to recommend to you guys a product I never tried out. But I can tell you one thing is that Umar, which is a founder of TradeZilla, is an absolute fucking monster. He does, in a good way, by the way, he creates very powerful and useful tools. So, I mean, I would have absolute confidence in it over Forex Replay. That is great, Solkin. That is definitely great. But honestly, rewatch, once I post this on YouTube, rewatch my explanation I just said and do this. You will progress so much faster because you're going to make some mistakes while you learn the model. So why would you go straight into replay trading and test your ability to execute on the model instead of going over charts with hindsight where you actually build trust in the model? And then when you're on your live charts, it's very easy to take the trade when it shows up because you know what a good trade looks like. So see, for my students, that is the reason also why I became profitable so quickly compared to a lot of other people. I don't fuck around with useless stuff. And for me, replay trading is useless. Now, if it helps you, then go for it. I don't want to turn you off that idea, but I have not used it. I'm very glad, very, very glad, Dillian. My mindset is all about simplicity and consistency, and there's not enough of that. Everybody's all hype on the, oh, let's make the most amount of money possible. Sure, long term. I mean, they can't beat my fucking compound interest. Let me tell you that. Someone will make more money than me in a day. Sure. Okay, I will never have 300K, 500K, $1 million days. I will never have those. But I'll have $1 million weeks because I keep winning. My mic could be a tiny bit quiet. I do need to mess around with it. But you can see, like, if you hover this, my name, right, you'll see my little icon speaking. You can right click on me and you can move the sound up, right? You'll see user volume. So that might be better for you. $227,000 VTO. I was trading 43 prop firm accounts at that point. That is my biggest day ever. It happened once. My closest day after that is half of that, a little under half of that, actually. Yeah, that was in my prime scaling up days. I was doing the most amount of accounts possible and copy trading all of them. And then, by the way, that money hit the bank account. I did cash out that money, but I also blew 25 or 27 actually of those 43 accounts the next month after, in the weeks after that. And that taught me a very big lesson. I was going too quick for no fucking reason. So now what did I do? I scaled back down. I'm trading my personal accounts, going for long-term compound growth. And my personal accounts are just paying my day-to-day living expenses, right? See, last month I did $21,000 on my personal account, and I cashed out 7,000 of that for expenses. I do spend a shit ton of money. I spend way too much. I should spend a lot less, but that is a problem for another day. And I compounded 13K, so the next month I can risk more. This month, by the way. I don't like to speak about numbers a lot because I don't like to give expectations to people, right? This is a free Discord. We do have some paid tools, I'm not going to lie, and I do advertise them quite a bit. I mean, I'm showing them off every single day, but I don't like enticing people to like, hey, do it my way. No, do it whichever way fits best for you. And you know what? If you want some help, here are some tools. I feel like that is better for me. Would you say right now is harder to trade because of all the volatility? Well, I mean, here, I wouldn't say that it's harder right now. I say that it was easier in 2023, end of 2023 and beginning of 2024. I mean, look at this move. All we did was go higher. Of course, this was easier, but I wouldn't say right now is hard, right? Right now is just like it should be. And I don't believe it's hard. Have my stats gone down? Yeah. In that run, by the way, you guys might know, well, you can go check if you guys want, but you'll actually, I have some data, I have some pictures and stuff. I fully called this reversal right here. And during all this run up right here, a little less here, and all this run up right here, I had close to an 85% win rate. So my stats now, I'm averaging closer to a mid-70s win rate. Mid-70s to low 70s. So of course my stats are worse. But am I making less money? No. So I wouldn't say it's harder. All that to say I wouldn't say it's harder. I do agree that some days are a lot harder. You do have a lot more hard days, but overall, I think that price is doing what it needs to on a higher time frame perspective. The only thing is that sometimes the 1 minute is a little back and forth. To be expected, honestly. I was expecting it after the Trump election. The indicator you have on there, do we have to subscribe to be able to use it? I'm currently using TradingView. Yes, I do have one free indicator, which you can find. It is the old version of what I have here as the opening prices indicator. It's key times and opening prices. You'll find this one. So this is a free indicator. It is the only free indicator I have, actually. This is turning into a Q&A. You know what? I don't mind. I really don't. I'm happy to. Yeah, see, that's the thing, Dillians. All of my indicators, you can draw manually, right? Except, I'd say, except the breaker blocks. Because breaker blocks, a lot of people have a hard time with it. It is a more complex pattern. So let's say you forget about this one, candle ranges. You're able to draw previous week, day, month, whatever time frame you want. You're able to draw the highs and lows. You're able to draw your session highs and lows. These indicators are not about helping you do something you can't, except for the breaker blocks, once again. It's about making your life easier. See, I don't have to think anymore. I don't have to draw anything anymore. Just have to open it. Oh, I see. Oh, London framework. Okay, whatever. Okay, today I had to think a little bit with the news framework, but I didn't have to think about my entry. This is all showcased live, right? So no, yes, these are paid indicators. You'll find in the official links, if you actually want to go ahead and see, I have the Rice Statistics app, which is a web app that shares statistical data about concepts and strategies that we use in the markets. And part of that subscription, you also get access to our TradingView indicators. It is an all-in-one indicator. What would you say is the best or most useful feature of your app? The indicators. To be honest, of all the subscription, but if you're talking specifically about the app, it's more so to give you confidence about frameworks, but I use sessions so much. Session highs and lows, and by that, I'm also talking about previous day high and low, previous week high and low. It gives me my bias for the week, and I like to use a lot of news filtering, which is the most useful feature in my opinion. You can take any dashboard, any type of data, and if you filter it based on the news that there are on that day, you will find so much more useful data. If there is one piece of value I can provide to you guys, it is that specifically. Like, for example, if you guys don't understand, right, looking at retracements to the 930 open on a day where it is NFP. I'm just saying some bullshit right now to give you guys an understanding of what I mean. All right. Not looking at just the retracements to the 930 open during the AM session, but looking at them on a day where the news is NFP and, for example, the previous day took out previous day's high. That's some stuff like that. Where could I learn the high impact news and what it does to the market? Because I feel like it matters a lot. If you're talking about fundamental analysis, like, for example, CPI, and if the inflation data comes out higher than expected, how does it affect it and whatnot? I have no clue at all. I do not know that stuff. I do not understand that stuff. I do not want to know that stuff. So I don't have a good source to tell you. But if what you're saying is that you're trying to learn what high impact news are and like how to interact with them in a trading perspective, that I can help with. More like if I have a CPI day, what should I expect? Price action reviews. Whenever we have important news, I put them in the title. I've been starting that recently. So like if you search up on my channel, CPI price action review, you'll find a lot more. And I am going to be doing that a lot more in the future. I think I started like a month ago. So that will give you a lot of examples. You can go back test them manually, or you can look at the data on Rice Statistics, which I see you don't have, and I'm not trying to entice you to get it, but let's say I was on Rice Statistics and I wanted to know, I don't know, how we interact with previous day high and low on a CPI day. Then I'd go on Rice Statistics. I'd go to the ranges analysis. I'd go to the daily standard time, which is standard time, by the way, guys, is just basically when a new candle forms. So instead of using midnight to midnight, it would be from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m., right, to 5 p.m. because our markets are closed for an hour. And I go there, I look into that, and then I could filter it to only see days that have CPI. So now I could have the percentage probability of reaching previous day high and low, also the percentage probability of when that will happen, and then all of a sudden you have a framework. But now what I just explained that you can do with previous day high and low, you can do with every single session high and low. You can do with retracements to opening prices. You can do it with opening gaps as well, right? So for example, new week opening gap, new day opening gap, regular trading hours gap, which also as part of the indicator package that we offer, we also have all of that. So new week opening gap, you could know the probability of returning to that. You also have, of course, the new day opening gap and the regular trading hours gap, which is right here. And we're talking about percentage chance to return to them, to fill them. I mean, there is so much data, so many different ways to trade it. I've said it multiple times that I like to focus on important levels. So for example, daily highs and lows, weekly highs and lows, and session highs and lows. I very rarely trade retracements to opening prices. This is less my forte, but it is very valuable data with most of them being 60 to 65% frameworks. Yeah, as you said, dude, this is indeed turning into a Q&A, but I'm happy to. I love doing these, and I'm glad to see that I can entertain you guys for 40 fucking minutes. Glad I can be of help. It is my absolute pleasure. Better than no questions? Absolutely. So, when people don't ask questions, you don't know if it's because it's clear or because they're scared to or because they just don't want to. So I'm very happy to see you guys have questions and to be able to answer your questions. What do you do for fun? Well, this is where it turns less in the grim. I am 21 years old. If I want to have fun, I go out and I drink with my friends. That is the truth. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's been summer, and you might notice that sometimes the PA reviews on Friday night, they move to 5 p.m. That is because I want to go out that night. And so I don't want to do a PA review at 8:30, so I do it earlier. I know a guy will ask questions, but once you do, he grills you. I don't mind. I'm happy to be grilled. I am an open book, guys. This is not something I advertise, but I am very transparent. I'm happy to share any knowledge that I have, but that always comes with an opinion. So if you ask for my knowledge, you'll also have my opinion about that knowledge. Like, for example, backtesting. Oh, no worries. I didn't take it as me. I just said, like, I don't mind being real. You close to California? I am not. I liked where this was going, but I am not. I live in Quebec, in Canada. I will be in Vegas, though, in September. Vegas, then Phoenix in Arizona. All right, so we've been here for 43 minutes. We're going to give it 2 additional minutes. So if you guys have any final questions, I'm glad to, but we're going to cut it off there. If not, nobody's going to watch this recording on YouTube. Rise link up, perhaps someday. I'd be more than happy to at some point. I'll get you a poutine when I'll make it. Fair enough. We have a deal right there. I appreciate the feedback, Dillian. More than you know. I really do. So I'm glad I can help. I'm glad that you're showing appreciation. Very nice to have you in here. I'm just happy to help, to be honest. I had a hard time finding valuable, simple information, and I feel like that too much people overcomplicate things. So I'm happy to help out any struggling trader with this simple mentality, this simple psychology, I guess, is the best way to put it. I have many fails and many places where I could be a lot better. But that's the thing, right? Constantly growing comes constantly striving for change. That is the goal. But with my trading, though, this is my only system I will be trading for the rest of my life. If it has worked for the last 20 years, it will continue working for at least 3 to 4 years so I can get rich. Just wanted to know if there was any learning or lesson that you think made you profitable. Yes, a big thing is the backtesting I discussed earlier in this video, how I backtested and how I basically reversed engineer this model. That is a big thing. But the number one thing, if I'd have to really pinpoint it, that made me profitable is just doing the work. And I know that sucks to hear, but and not like ICT says, right? Submit to time. Not like that, right? It's not a question of time. It's a question of putting in the fucking hours. I have spent hundreds of hours simply looking at chart when I was creating my model, right? And now it's created and just backtesting that model. I have over 8,000 backtests. Those are individual rise models setups that are logged in the fucking Excel sheet. I didn't even know Notion existed then. And now, of course, as I said, it's all automatic and all of that, but it's about putting in the work, putting in the hours. If you actually want to succeed, you don't mind putting in the work. And I understand that everyone can do fucking 20-hour days, right? People have real lives, people have responsibilities and jobs. I didn't have that because I started early. So for me, it was easier. But if you don't, then just take a year. Take a year and commit to doing at least an hour every single day. And if that hour is backtesting 3 or 4 setups and then logging them, then do it. But just opening your charts and randomly moving around for an hour doesn't do shit for you. So that would be my one piece of advice I could give to someone. But definitely the biggest thing that changed my trading is the backtesting and actually doing it. I've traded for 10 years and I have done it all. Billions of hours. I have traded a model like yours, but you make it look simple. Love it. Very glad to hear that. That's nice to hear. On that note, though, guys, we are going to call it a night. It was very, very fun to have all of you. Thanks for the engagement. That was great. A nice little Q&A session. It is my pleasure. My pleasure is reading charts properly. The only thing that will help you with that is looking up more charts and more peer reviews. That's why I do these, so that you can see what you should be looking at. And I always go at it about different perspectives. Like today, for example, we talked about this short, even though there is no way in hell that I would personally look for a short here. What if you did look for a short, then go over it? Rewind and go over it over? Yes, sir. This is one to rewatch for sure. I will be adding it to the resources tab later today. I do have a meeting now, though, so I gotta run. But good luck if you're trading tomorrow. I actually had a great week, so I will not be trading tomorrow. But I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. If not, for the other ones, I will see you all next Sunday for next weekly outlook. Bye, guys. You guys have a great night. It was lovely chatting with all of you.